This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
This podcast is sponsored by AMG Logistics and in association with the Birmingham City Official Supporters Clubs. I'm your host, Craig Courtney, and we're looking forward to the next Blues game and finding out what our opposition fans think. Sit tight and enjoy the next edition of The Away End. So hello, welcome. Games are coming thick and fast this time of the year. So 2 in a week. What can we say? Birmingham get back to winning ways midweek. And it was a really good game up at Deepdale. So Chris Davies took the side up. We're fair to say some of the fans not expecting to get a result. But thanks to a great bullet header from Phil Neumann, who came back into the side, Birmingham then ground out a 1-0 result. It was a bullet header. It was a fantastic cross, and hopefully we can see more of that as we move forwards. Chris Davies now takes his team, though, down to Ashton Gate, looking to continue on those winning ways, but also going to a stadium that Birmingham have a really good record with over the past few years. So Gerard Struber's Bristol City entered the game, though, on a fantastic run. 4th in the league, and after a fantastic 3-1 win against Southampton midweek on Tuesday, they're going to this with really high spirits and no doubt looking to continue their own run themselves. We're joined this evening by Fevs from the Forever Bristol City podcast, and he's going to take us through what to expect at the weekend, but also, as normal, hear a bit more about the Bristol side. Where are their strengths? Where are their weaknesses? What are the predictions? But most importantly, we're going to test his knowledge. So, Fevs, thank you very much, first of all, for joining us on the away end. Tell us a little bit, first of all, about the podcast and how you've been involved, how long you've been going, etc.
Yeah, so Forever Bristol City, started off by a guy called Dave Pottier, who kind of normally does these things. Dave started it pretty much when COVID hit, really. It's kind of a lockdown equivalent of, you know, getting in the pub after a game and having a good old chat about what was going on. And it's been going for 5 strong years now. I think I was on about the 3rd episode, and then kind of I come and go as as Dave kind of rotates his guests, and so I've been kind of going on that for about 5 years now. So
excellent. And I mean, obviously, we haven't played each other for a fair while now, actually, when we go back over it. But the record is pretty decent, actually, from a Birmingham perspective. And it makes a change for me to say this, but it is actually pleasant reading. So of the games that we've played over the years, and there have been many, so Birmingham have won 38 of them. We've drawn 18. We've only lost 19. Hopefully, we can get that continuing as we move forwards. And in the last 5, again, pleasant reading, because it's 3 wins to Birmingham, 1 loss and 1 draw. The last time we actually played each other, December 2023. I was in the league at St Andrews, and it was a dull and boring 0-0. However, that came off the back of playing yourselves, and the last time we was at Ashton Gate was in August 2023. Birmingham actually ended up as 2-0 victors on that particular day. So we're definitely hoping for a repeat. But things have changed over the years. Fair to say I've seen a strengthening Bristol side, finding themselves actually quite hard to beat. So tell us a little bit about what we can expect from the team on Saturday. Where are your strengths? Where are your weaknesses, if you've got any? And who should we watch out for?
Yeah, I guess since we last played you've kind of been down and back up again. So you've missed Bristol City pretty much under Liam Manning, and you've basically had to kind of take on Bristol City previously under Nigel Pearson, and now you're going to take them on under Gerhard Struber. And I'd say that you're probably more likely to face a City side more aligned to what it was like under Nigel Pearson than what it was under Liam Manning. So we are tough to beat. we've got a really strong work ethic. And Gerhard Struber, for those of you listening that are kind of au fait with Red Bull football, it's fairly chaotic at times. It's not always pretty, but it's certainly not it's not boring. And we'll play a lot in transition. We'll try and pinch the ball up high, but we're not mad. We don't just run around like headless chickens up front trying to press. We kind of trigger those presses into kind of as you kind of move the ball out to your fullbacks. That's when we'll try and squeeze you. We'll win it back. But when we do win it back, the first thought is to go forward. None of this sideways, backwards, reset stuff. It's a bit gung ho at times, and it's a bit dodgy on the old nerves at times as well. But it's pretty exciting.
Enjoyable to watch, though, no doubt, because I think we've been through our phases of we're just going to pass the ball back from the midfield to the defence, back to the midfield, never going forwards, not doing anything. Last season, obviously, we were in that run of we can score for fun, and we knocked it about, and we played some really good football. This season, I found it a lot harder in the league, but I think it's fair to say we all expected it, and. Now it's interesting that you mentioned about the way it's, front foot pushing yourselves forwards, because does that then bring a sense of, you mentioned nerves? Is that because you can come forwards, but then you'll struggle to get back and people can get you on the counter? Or is it just you don't know what's coming?
A bit of we don't know what's coming. I think, Struber would describe it as kind of like chaos. And it is pretty chaotic at times, that first thought to run forward and to attack in numbers. But as I say, it's not kind of like complete madness where everyone's bombing forward. It's a bit more structure to it than that. But, if our wing backs are forward, then, they're going to leave holes in behind them. And that's where we can get exploited. I think some teams that we play this year, we found it a little bit harder are those teams that sit in a little bit and don't commit numbers forward themselves. We beat Southampton on Tuesday night because, they had total confidence that their foot will be good enough to beat us, but they pushed players forward and we exposed them when we won the ball back. And, yet we've played teams like Charlton and QPR who've perhaps sat in a little bit more and we found it harder to break them down. So we'll be happy if you come on to us, I think, on Saturday. But if you do sit in, it'll probably make it quite hard for us.
It's actually hard to predict, I think, going into Saturday, how Birmingham will set up, because we've had the injuries. We've still got the injuries. Some long term. Hopefully, the others, a few will come back over the next couple of weeks. What we saw at Deepdale was a side that pressed, but also were defensively quite sound. It was nice to see Neumann come back into the side. Neumann and Clara just seemed on the day to be a brick wall that it didn't matter. You were not going to get through it. And people trying to knock a ball over the top, that was bread and butter for them. I think it's fair to say we can be beaten down the wings. We do struggle a little bit with pace, but they can read the game. And that's the difference is if you can read the game, for me, that's heads and tails above anybody that can go and do 100 metres in 15 seconds. It's just about being able to keep on top of it. And the midfield looked fantastic. Doyle was absolutely sound. We saw, a great goal that was scored on Tuesday night. First one off, Billy, from a set piece for ourselves, which is actually quite scary considering the team is quite tall. And a bullet header. Neumann meant it. It's just one of those that keeper was diving, but he was already past him by the time it had got in. So it was great to see. But the confidence then began to shine through as well. And I think, again, it would just be interesting on Saturday to see how it goes.
Yeah. I think, is a Sai Samuel, is he suspended? Did I hear he got his fifth yellow on Tuesday?
Yeah. So, we, again, just when we think we're going to get a settled defence, we end up losing another player. But it will just be interesting to see how we set up and who he brings in. I mean, I think it's fair to say that on Tuesday night we ended the game with 5 in the back. We were shutting up shop. We did want to defend that lead, as most teams did, and God, it worked. It was I won't say it was a beautiful game to watch because it was far from it. but what we saw was a resilient side who I think have struggled. We have lacked a little bit of confidence at times. But Chris Davies' reaction at the end of that game showed his true passion and what it meant to not just to him, but what it meant to all the players, to see them doing the celebrations that they did. But when you say you're coming forwards and you're obviously you've got a bit of a goal scoring prowess, 3 past Southampton, no mean feat really. That's good going. Is that what you would class as probably your biggest strength at the moment, or are there other areas where you see the key strengths in the side?
It's a really interesting one because I think we're a team that are predominantly kind of sum of the parts, being stronger than the individuals, and our strength is probably when we can put as many of our better players out. And I know it kind of sounds, that's obvious, but we've got quite a lot of injury problems at the moment. So we got 3 of our 4 central midfielders out. So we've got Jason Knight out, who's been arguably one of our best players since we signed him 2 years ago. Joe Williams, a kind of battle-hardened championship central midfielder, and Max Bird probably a bit more of the kind of playing role in there. So we're left with Adam Randall, and we've had to play Zach Viner, our centre back in midfield. So we're short on numbers. There was I was there on Tuesday night, and it looked like Viner had picked up his 5th booking, but actually he'd given it to one of the Southampton players. But we thought, oh no, not only are we playing a centre back in midfield, we've now lost him as well. So our strength is having our best players on the pitch, and our weakness is, when we make subs, that's potentially when we're going to be weaker. I'm hoping everyone's fit. I don't think we've got anyone coming back this weekend, so it'll be pretty much the same side as what we played the other night. We might just rotate one of the wing backs. It'll probably be as much as we get. But in terms of kind of individuals at the moment, we're kind of playing a kind of centre forward and then 2. I wouldn't call them number 10s because they play pretty advanced in Scott Twine and Anis Mehmeti playing off of Emil Rees. Mm-hmm. Rees is a kind of proven championship goal scorer, not prolific, not 20 goals, but he'll get you 12 and 15 most seasons. Then Mehmeti and Twine have both got, they're our joint top scorers with 5. So the threat comes from them. Yeah. Twine, more from his kind of striking ability in terms of, hitting dead balls and playing nice passes. Mehmeti's the kind of dribbler and shooter, but he's added a little bit more to his game this season in terms of running on beyond the front player. Mm-hmm. He's managed to form a really good relationship with Rees. So Rees will, I guess, try and occupy Clara and Newman as much as possible and drag them around a bit. And then hopefully kind of Mehmeti will be making that kind of third man run off of the back of him. So that's kind of where our main threat is. Yep. I think we're fairly solid at the back. We've got two big ones in our big Robs, big Rob Atkinson and big Rob Dickey. So that'll be kind of quite a challenge set pieces, both attack and defence against Clara and Newman coming forward. Got to say, I saw Clara and Newman in, I think it was the opening game of the season against Ipswich, and they both like a nice little physical battle, don't they? They're not gonna be shy.
They're not gonna hold back. And hey, according to the rumours, Neumann hasn't been playing because he decided to have a fight with Clara, and it's obviously all a load of rubbish. But as we've been told by Chris Davies, if there was a fight between them, Clara would win because he likes to rough it up. But it's they like the physicality. I think Neumann is still getting used to the English game. He's come from Germany where it's fair to say it's not as physical. It's more of that, well, you see it in the games now. The players tend to be running more off the ball. The physicality has dropped away, but the pace is a lot greater, and he is still getting used to that. Mm-hmm. But I think across all of our team, we've still got players that are still coming into the fold and really preparing to settle down rather than actually, they've hit the ground running almost pre-season to them. We'll be.
You made quite a reasonable start, didn't you, to the season? Yeah. But I think it's that grind of the championship kind of it gets to teams. And if you get on a little bit of a run either way, it's difficult to get out of, isn't it? And I'm guessing that's what we've done. Winning 2 on the trot is a kind of massive boost to us because we were 4 without a win before we went to Norwich last Saturday. So it can change around pretty quickly.
This league is ridiculous as well. It's open. it's anybody's. We look at the teams that have been relegated from the Premier League, and not one of them won in midweek. And not just that, two of them got spanked by, or I should say spanked, but conceded 3 goals. And that's not heard of when you think about it over the past few years and the way that the leagues have been. So I think it's very open. Everybody will go, oh, but Coventry are top. They seem to be doing everything really well. Speaking with Coventry fans, what they say is, great, they've got a team out there at the moment, but they don't have the strength in depth. So as soon as they start accruing these, suspensions or the injuries, that's when they'll see a different side of it. And I think it's still very much open. You can't call it at this present moment. Who's going to go and win the league? You don't know. Which 3 are going to go down? You don't know. And it's like at Birmingham's position, 5 points off the top 6, 5 points off the relegation. It's like, it's just the unthinkable thought of going down again, but you never write it off.
Yeah, you look battle hardened enough to not have that kind of problem. I think your problem is probably managing certain fans' expectations that you were going to go straight up again this season, and it's different. Going up from League One to Championship and then trying to win the Championship. I know Ipswich did it, but they built a squad in League One that was more than capable in the Championship. You probably had to rebuild a little, well, not rebuild, but build again this summer, haven't you, in terms of the quality of players you brought in. So, I think you just have to manage expectations. But it's close enough that if you do get on a run, then who knows? And I think that's the same for us as well. I think we see ourselves in a group of probably 10 clubs who can get into the playoffs. But, you could have finished mid-table if you're at the wrong end of that kind of group of 10 as well. So, it's a lot will, go up and down as the season goes on. And
that was going to be, you kind of preempted my next question, because I was going to say, you started the season, right? So where did you expect, and when you started the season, where did you expect that at the end of it you would be? And at this current stage, did you think you was going to be 4th in the league and looking as strong as what you are? Or did you think, actually, do you know what? I'd take mid-table. Because I've got to say, as a Birmingham fan coming up, I'm a realist. I'll take mid-table at this present moment, because I think we can go on a run and we can improve. And we've had a pretty tough start to the season when you look at the teams that we've played.
Yeah.
So what about yourselves? Where did you think you would be at this stage, and what's your prediction for the year?
Well, we finished 6th last year. We got in the playoffs, and then we, had a pretty disastrous playoff semi-final against Sheffield United, where we lost, both games 3-0. But so I think a lot of people are saying, well, we should be looking to progress. But I think 6th was, it's wrong to say fortunate, but we probably won the right 6-pointers against the teams around us at the back end of last season that kind of pushed them down and enables us to kind of grab hold of the 6th place. But I think we're a kind of like 8th, 9th, 10th side, really. But if you put it together, and you're capable of finishing in the playoffs. So I'd say at the start of the season, I thought we finished 8th to 10th. And that was probably on the back of, we finished, a bit sloppily last season. We had an incredibly quiet summer transfer window wise. We used all our money up last summer. So we literally paid $500,000 for Adam Randall, and we brought in 2 free transfers, one a goalkeeper and one Emil Rees. We didn't lose many out the other way, in fairness. We lost Naki Wells, who was our top scorer, or second top scorer behind Anis Mehmeti. We lost Cal Naismith, who had a bit of an injury-prone spell with us, and we lost the kind of backup goalkeeper, but we didn't lose much, to be honest. So it was kind of we had a fairly settled squad. And then at the back end of the window, we brought in Vitek on loan, the goalkeeper from Manchester United, who's been an absolute revelation, really. He's really improved us in the goalkeeper position. No disrespect to Max O'Leary, who's been ever-present pretty much for the last few seasons. He's a solid Championship goalie, but nothing more than that, whereas Vitek's a real upgrade on that. Big 6'6", 6'7", commands his area. And then we brought in Neto Borges on loan from Middlesbrough right at the end of the window to cover us at left wing back, because we've had we had some players who haven't kicked a ball for us this season. So we're normally regulars. Campering, our left wing back, hasn't played yet. Joe Williams hasn't played. Luke McNally, who's obviously been in the Coventry playoff side, and had moved to Burnley. We picked him up last summer. He's got an ACL, so he's out till into the new year. So we've got some long-term injuries as well that haven't helped. So I think round about that 8th, 10th, and I guess the other kind of dynamic to that was, and we've got Gerhard Struber coming in, who's going to play a completely different way to what Liam Manning is going to do. So how long is it going to take them to adjust? Well, probably about 30 minutes against Sheffield United on the opening day was about as long as it took, and that's going to set the scene really. So where could we finish? We could finish in the top 6. We've made a really tidy start so far, but it's a long season, and we'll see where it goes. I'm not getting too carried away just yet.
Come on, they always say that the proper football doesn't start until the dark nights start coming along and people start getting cold. But it's ridiculous. I've seen people with gloves on already, and I'm thinking, I can still go to a football game in a t-shirt. So why have they got gloves on? But hey, typical football nowadays, isn't it? So interesting to hear about the side. How do you generally set yourself up though? So has Gerhard got himself a formation that you have seen in every game, or does he chop and change it?
It's been pretty much the same every game. Certainly from the start, we start off 3-4-2-1 or 3-4-3, depending how you want to list those three of them: Metty, Twine, and Reese. And in fact, we've only started 14 players this season. Once again, we haven't got great depth beyond those kind of small group of starters. So yeah, it's been pretty easy to kind of pick the team within one player probably every game. But yeah, so two wing backs who'll play pretty high, 3 centre backs. Because Viner's playing in midfield, we've lost a little bit of kind of ball playing ability on the right side, but Dickey and Atkinson. Dickey's a kind of passing centre back, and Atkinson's one who'll make quite a lot of runs forward from kind of left centre back as well. So if you let him have space on the ball, it's not just going to knock it out to the wing back. He'll actually drive forward with the ball as well. So that's the kind of way we build up from deep, and then we play 2 central midfielders at the moment. It's Randall and Viner. They play quite high. They don't just sit in front of the back 3. They actually try and press quite high behind Twine, Mametti, and Reese. That's the way we set up, and we play a lot through the middle of the pitch. We don't do much of this play out to the wings, back, sideways, round the other side. We're going down the middle. We're gonna hit you where you're hurt, and to gonna give you a little Gerhard Struberism here. In pre-season, he was chatting to the boys, and we had kind of like the cameras on him, and he said, and he's talking about kind of pressing. He said, "In the merciless moments, we will kill them." That's his kind of mantra. So basically, when we win the ball back, we go forward and we try and score. So it's
a serious mantra to have. That is, it's like, oh yeah, the opposition's manager wants to kill you. It's okay.
Yeah, it's been quite repetitive on that, as well as using the word sexy and super a lot. But yeah, that was the one that kind of most fans picked up on.
I wonder why. It's like you're thinking, what's we going to stick with? Well, we're going to kill you. Okay, that's it. We'll take up that.
Yeah.
So, I want to test your knowledge a little bit. I know before we started, you said, it's all right, I'm a bit of a football geek. So this shouldn't be hard.
I've set myself up for failure.
You have to, you know what I mean? If you can't do this now, everybody's laughing at you. No pressure. But a little challenge that I like to set as the season goes by is to start off by saying, when we're playing the opposition side, I want you to name 5 players that have represented both clubs, but have actually signed between the clubs. So whether that be on loan or permanent transfers. And there are some great names on this list, especially over the years. And it is actually pretty even between transfers from Bristol to Birmingham, Birmingham to Bristol. So if you can name 5.
I can certainly name one, and that's Taylor Gardner-Hickman, because that was fairly recent.
Well, that's it. That's happened in the summer, hasn't it? He was on loan with us last season, and he's transferred permanently during the summer, but I think the contract was done and dusted before the season ended. But weirdly, not playing for Birmingham now.
God, No, he's gone to Blackburn already, hasn't he?
Indeed.
Not really found it settled since he's left West Brom. God, now this should be relatively straightforward, and yet it's now really, really testing me. God, who else have we got? And so when you say signed, is that signed from Birmingham, went straight to City, or went from City to Birmingham, or just played for both?
It's actually signing between the clubs. Do you know what? If you struggle with it and you get some players that have played for both, I might be nice and let you have those.
How about Martin Cool? Was he one who went from us to you, or you to us? That's in the 90s. Not in that goal.
I've got to say, before Gardner Hickman, so a named player that you could recognise, we're talking going back until like 2016-17 season. We have had somebody centre back from Birmingham to Bristol, but I think he was a youngster, because it's not a name I will say that I recognise. But that was a signing. But yeah, prior to that, 2016, 2017.
2016, 17. So,
and I'll give you a hint: loan transfer.
Loan transfer. Did we loan in 16, 17? Did we loan them to you, or did you loan them to us?
So we loaned to you.
To us.
This guy couldn't get a kick, in all honesty, in the Birmingham side. He had the potential to be a phenomenal player.
Centre back. Come on, I'm being bad here. I should know that.
Well, worse still, he's actually a right winger.
Oh, right winger. Oh,
yeah.
Right winger. Okay, right winger was. God, no, we had Elliot Bennett in 16, 17. No, that was season afterwards. Oh God, put me out my misery, Craig. Come on.
I'll give you the initials, because I can't let you get away with it. You said you've been at the SWAT.
I know.
I've got to stick with it.
DC,
the initials.
DC.
And I think he came to you. He didn't. I don't believe he played many games.
Okay. Didn't play. So we signed someone on loan, and he didn't play for us.
He didn't play many.
So that's 16, 17. That was our second season up. Oh, Dave Cottrell.
So you get there in the end. You knew you would.
Oh, that's terrible. The thing is, Dave was with us like as an academy player.
Yeah.
And then he went off to Wigan. I think we got about 2 million for him, back in the probably mid 2000s, which was a hell of an amount of money to get for him at the time. Yeah. And then he came back on that and played probably 10 dozen. But God, yeah, Dave Cottrell.
Then we're talking a free transfer from Birmingham to Bristol, same season. Again, I think one of our youngsters that moved. So the youngsters, I can explain, get that you might not get them. But 14-15, you had a player who signed on a permanent transfer to you, but had previously in 2013-14 season been on loan. He's an attacking midfielder. Phenomenal. Wade Elliott. Indeed.
He was great for us. He really
was brilliant for Birmingham. He was, and such a nice chap as well. It was.
There's another podcast that Bristol City do called One Stream in Bristol, and they've recently done what we call a cider with Wade Elliott, and they kind of do like an hour-long interview. And he's just such a nice guy, and he lives quite close to Ashton Gate as well, so he might even be there. I think.
Yes, friend of the show for Tilton Talk as well. We've actually had him on, and he was absolutely brilliant.
Really, really nice guy. Yeah.
Then we're talking going back to 2002, 2003. Centre forward loan transfer from Birmingham to yourself. Let's just say his first name is not too dissimilar. In fact, it's the same as one person that's on the screen at the moment. And it's not you.
There's either Dave or Craig. Dave or Craig. Craig from 2002, 2003.
whilst you're thinking about that one,
Go on.
centre back from yourselves or from Birmingham to yourselves, two of them. We also had one in 1991-92. You've also had a centre midfielder from Birmingham in the 91-92 season. In fact, both the centre back and the central midfielder signed permanently, and they came from you to us. One of them, probably and arguably for me, one of the most rapid players I have ever seen play football. And I can put you out your misery if you want me to.
Go on, put me out of misery, Craig.
So the centre backs, first one was Birmingham to Bristol. I was Richard Dryden.
Richard Dryden. He's just taken over as manager of Yeovil. Paul Marden won one of them, was he?
He wasn't, but he has played of it. He has played for both clubs. Yeah. The other centre back, Dave Rennie, signing from yourselves to Birmingham.
He's one of my favourite players from the Joe Jordan era in the late 80s, early 90s. Yeah.
And the centre midfielder is Louis Donowa.
Louis Donowa. Now he was quick.
Rapid. He was unreal.
He's infamous with Bristol City fans. In the local derby against Bristol Rovers, he did one of those goals where he got it to the goal line, went down on his knees and headed it in. So folklore. That Louis Donowa.
And then just a few other names. I mean, one is an absolute legend at Birmingham. He is a rock hard centre forward who nobody was going to get past. Go on.
My first favourite footballer, Big Mick Harford.
Indeed. What a absolute legend for both of the clubs and such a true gentleman as well. And I've had the privilege of meeting him on a couple of occasions, and he is just phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I think we had to sell him because we couldn't afford to pay the fee for him, could we? Because we were going bust. So yeah, my first Bristol City kit was the shiny red kit that Mick Harford wore. There we go. I'm getting all nostalgia.
And then there was three other players over the years. Bob Meacock, who was a centre half. Joe Bradford, centre forward.
Oh yeah, he's a famous City player. Yeah.
Arthur Johnson was the other one.
Yeah. All before my time, despite my youthful looks. But yeah.
So we get to that favoured point of the show where I have to say, Bevs, what does your heart say the result will be, and what does your head say the result will be on Saturday at Ashton Gate?
I guess the good thing is for Birmingham fans, whatever I predict, I'm probably not going to be right. So don't go on this one. But I guess I expect it to be a fairly tight affair, despite what I've said about the way we play. I think Birmingham, you're quite a tough side to break down. You're pretty resolute. I think your problem this season has probably been scoring goals, hasn't it? But you've been fairly and probably given away a couple of soft goals, probably. But I guess even things like Ipswich first game, should have never been a penalty. So you've kind of suffered a little bit. So I think you're quite hard to break down. So I'm gonna go 1-1 because I think we do find it hard against you. So I'm gonna go 1-1 on Saturday, and I won't be hugely disappointed with that either.
And I mean, it's a weird one because midweek I called us to draw and I said it'd be 0-0, and we managed to get that 1-0 win. I then said we would come down to your place, and we've got that good record, and I thought we would sneak a 1-0 win. So I'm going to stick with what I predicted at the beginning of the week, just purely for the fact that, look, I got it wrong midweek. I said it was going to be a draw. So if we can win, but we get a draw, I'm still happy. As long as we come away with some sort of result. I think the same as yourself. I don't think it's going to be a high scoring game. There will be two teams that will not want to be beaten. And, depending on how those midfielders play, our strength is midfield. Your strength appears to be midfield. So it could be that we nullify each other. So we'll see. But thank you very much, Febs, for joining us on the away end.
Pleasure.
It has been absolutely wicked to hear about Bristol. And we'll do this again when the game is at St Andrews at Knighthead Park. At that point, we can then say what's happened on Saturday. thank you very much again for joining us. The away end is sponsored by AMG Logistics and in association with the official Birmingham City Supporters Club. If you wish to join any of the supporters clubs, then look us up on www.bcfcosc.com and look for your local club. Easy to join. And what can I say? For just £10 for an adult, £8 for an over 65 and free for kids, you get some fantastic benefits. So go and check us out. Thanks again. Looking forward to a great game, as always, down at Ashton Gate. A full end of Brummies, as always. There'll be no doubt taking over the pub and drinking plenty of cider. They'll make a noise, they'll make it raucous, and hopefully they'll be singing Keep Right On as loud as they can and coming home with 3 points. Here's to a great game at the weekend. I hope you have a great rest of the season until we play you again. And then on both occasions, I want you to have the worst games of your season. Let's see if that prediction comes true. Thanks again, Fevs, and keep right on.
Thanks, Craig.